Hello guys, I am back again, and in this tutorial we will be making sure that our employees will be making sure that we are able to insert employees into our system using the department ID which was loaded in the previous episode. Using this we are able to load in the ID of this department, and using this ID we are then able to reference that ID into this column. So what we will be simply doing is making this form so that we are able to insert employees into our system with the department as well. Okay. So in this, so first of all, we need to actually design this properly, right? Uh, let's just have this as empty, and then let's have another label. Let's call this department ID. Since we'll be loading our department ID somewhere over here. I don't even remember where it's been loaded in, but it will be loaded in somewhere around there. Yeah, it's been loaded right over here. Select that. Let's make this a bit bigger. Let's make it bold and 12. Right, same for this. Let's make this 12 and bold. Right. So as for the fields which we have the oops, we have the first name, last name, gender, DOB, and information which needs to be inserted. So first name, last name, gender. Next we have the DOB. As for the DOB, we will be using a special kind of tool which it's called and datetime picker to actually pick out the value from. And then we'll be using, then we have the address. Next we have the mobile phone. Next we have the, so after the mobile phone we have the home phone. Next we have the password. Then we have the email. So let's put the email on top of this, since that seems pretty appropriate to do so. Email, and then yeah, the department has been selected from here. We don't really need to insert new departments using this form, so yeah, let's just keep it as it is. uh, yeah, let's department, let's do it like that. And then we will have some buttons. Which will be pointing to insert. I'll call this btn insert, btn update, and then delete, btn delete. I think I'll be changing this insert and update into a single button, but I will see that in the later future. Right, let's see that in the future, but for now let's just work on the insertion. So for that we need the text boxes. Since we need to insert values, right, we need to take user inputs in order for our user to actually insert employees into the system. So let's take this as 12, bit longer. Last name, address, phone number, email, password. Okay, let's make this a bit bigger as well. 12 seems appropriate. And as for the gender, we need radio buttons, right? Since with the radio button only one value could be selected at once, so using a radio button is appropriate. Let's call this male, and let's change the value of this, which means the design value to RD male. Let's change the size to 12 and bold. Let's call this female next. RD female. Right, okay. Next we need a date time picker. So date time pickers are like, you know, our values are the things which actually use as values. So using a date time picker, we are able to actually pick a date, and that date would then be inserted into our database. And yeah, so we don't need a custom format, right? We could do day, then month, and then day, month, day, month, then year. That work? Never really tried it, but I've never really tried that. But let's see. Oh, that does not work. Okay. Okay, let's remove this then. Yeah, that seems fine. Let's change the format to short, since we already need the DOB, and let's make this a bit bigger for 12. That is fine. And then let's rename all these text boxes. So this is supposed to be the first name, so txt fname, txt lname, first, last, DTP, DOB, txt address, txt mobile phone, txt home phone, txt email, txt password, and our departments is already chosen, right? So then next let's move on to the insert, which means using this insert value we would then be able to insert these values into our database, right? Okay, so let's double click in here. Okay, then let's first of all let's open our database inside a try catch, right? Ex message box dot show ex, right? Ex dot to string, unable to insert data due to error while inserting employees, right? Okay, okay. Let's get the message out of these things as well. since that seems pretty appropriate since the message comes out as a string. So right, okay, then let's finally in the end let's close the connection, since we'll be opening our connection right over here, and we don't want to forget actually closing our connection, right? Con.open, let's open the connection first, and then after opening our connection, the first thing which we need to do is actually check for our gender, right? So let's do gender equals to, let's create this as an empty string, and then if rd female dot checked, then gender would equal to f, and then else, or if rd, just for some code readability, let's do it like this, dot checked, let's make sure the gender is equal to m, and let's always make sure that male is always checked, right? Do this, there was an option to do so, there we go, true. Let's set this to true, right? Let's make sure that male is always checked, and there should always be at least one selected in order for our gender to be inserted, right? If not, this would actually throw an exception if we were to insert an empty value in here, right? Yeah, so now that our gender is fixed, what we could do is write our query, right? Okay, var query equals to, we will be inserting into our employee table, so this is going to be a pretty long query. So what we could do is actually, right, we could script our table, and let's make an insert into, copy this to clipboard, right? Then we could go to our notepad, we could do this, so insert into, do we need this? Yeah, I mean, we could use these values, but it's kinda annoying using this. Nah, we don't need this, let's just do it like this, right? Insert into, what's our table named, employee, and let's define the, do we need to define them? I don't think we need to. Let's just, you know, insert these things like this. So first of all, we have the first name. First we have the first name. Next we have the last name. Next we have the gender. Next we have the DOB. Next we have the address. Mobile number. Home number. Password. Email. Then the department ID. By the way, these names could be any name, okay? These don't have to match with these values over here. These names could be any names, but the order of these names should be the same as this. So since first name is first, but ID doesn't count, so first name is first. Since first name is first, first name should be at in the beginning, and since last name is second, last name should be here. It goes to all the columns which are inserted, okay? And yeah, this will be the query. And next, what we should do is execute this command, right? So using a using statement, var, right, var cmd equals to new SQL command. We need to add these values as a parameter to our values, so which is why we're actually doing this SQL command, and we'll pass in our query with the connection, right? And then we'll be using the cmd dot parameters dot add with value. So as for our first name, we could simply copy this in here, and then assign this with txt first name dot text, right? And this simply happens to all the fields which we have. So as for the last name, let's just let's copy the names first, since it will be easier for us to, like, define this in the future. Address, we have the mobile number, home number, password, email, then the department ID, right? So txt last name dot text. This would simply be gender, since gender has been assigned in the top. And then as for the DOB, so we have the dtp.dob, right? So let's use the value of this, since we need the value inside our datetime picker. That is what we need, since we are storing a datetime. So see, we just need the value of this. And then next we have the txt address, txt mobile phone, sorry, txt home phone, txt password, txt email. And as for this, we need the label, and we need to pass this into an integer. And to do this, we could do int, let's do 32 dot pass. Let's pass that as an integer, right? Now that that's done, we could then execute this query. So cmd dot execute non-query async. We could do this asynchronously, but since multiple queries are not being executed, we could do this in a single manner. And then once all these queries are done, you could do message box dot show employee has been added. So as for us converting this label ID into an integer, what we simply do is, since the value being stored in our label will be defaultly converted into a string, what we simply do is we simply convert that string into an integer again, since our ID is containing an integer. So we need to insert an integer which matches the data type of this data table as well. So which is why we are converting this into an integer in 32 pass, right? And yeah, this should work. Let's see if we get any errors when we were to execute this. So let's say the first name as John Snow. Let's keep the gender as male, address to Australia, mobile number to random numbers, this test2 at gmail.com, password to be 1234, and let's change the format of this password. And let's select HR, right? Or let's select yeah, let's select HR, and then insert this. Employee has been inserted. And if we was to select all from employee, first to execute this, we then see Jones has been inserted with the DOB value, Australia password and everything. Test2 department ID is 1. Let's change the department to sales, and test3 John Bob, Elisa Bob. Let's change this to June, Malaysia. I don't know if spellings are correct. Let's insert this. If we was to run this query again, we see that Lisa Bob, female, test3 department is 2, that's correct. Home phone, password, yeah, everything is working fine. We could actually remove this from showing as 1 2 3, since that is not appropriate. What we could do is password char to be this, right? We could have stars in there. And then as for the department ID not showing, why is this not showing? I want to see the ID actually. Where am I storing this? Oh, it seems that my ID has gone missing forever. But yeah, it's fine. Let's keep it like this, right? Let's go to main designer. Where is my label? Here we go. Yeah, the label is present, but I can't seem to find it anywhere. But that's fine, right? That's totally fine since all the processes work. I don't think that's an error or anything. It's just outside of this render distance, which is why it's not being shown. But since everything is working fine, there is no error. And oh, it's now showing. Oh, now it's showing. It's present over here, right? So we could do this. And as for the properties, we could keep this hidden, right? We could keep this hidden, so the visible equals to false, since we don't need to show the IDs for our user who is actually inserting our IDs, right? Since who is inserting our information, we don't need to show the IDs. Now we see that the ID is not shown. And yeah, that is how we simply insert the values of an user. We could do the same for the departments, but we'll do that in another form. But that is simply how we insert values to an user. And yeah, thank you for watching. Next, and in the next tutorial, we'll be moving on to the update. And yeah, thank you.